I feel like such a hipster. When last time we started recording, I was drinking a seltzer water, but now I'm drinking a ginger beer.
That's a good one too.
Like root beer, or actually a beer that is made of ginger?
It's like a ginger ale, but more gingery, apparently.
That's the one we use to make Moscow mules.
That's exactly why I have them. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I was like, I'm just going to drink one less Moscow, more mule. You know what I mean? So
there you go.
Yeah, I got my ginger beer on. But anyway, welcome everybody to Houndsman XP podcast, all mixed up. We have a really exciting episode this month. And I'm just going to slip it in right now. I can't wait. Next month as well, because I've been scurrying around at high speed and I have a lot of crazy in-person content. The patrons are going to get a taste of it first, but we're talking about feral mules. We're talking about crazy racing and people getting annihilated by feral horses. So stay tuned for next month. Yes.
That's a hell of a tease.
Wait, we have to go now?
Human corrals and people getting obliterated by feral horses. Wow. So that's next month. This month, however, also amazing because we got tweaker castles filled with raccoons.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for later in the episode. But Chad has brought along a great friend. Chad, I'm gonna let you take it away, brother. I just got us started.
All right, let's see. I got my buddy Dylan here visiting from the Northeast. Came out. You doing good, man?
Yeah, doing great. Glad to be here.
We just doing a little vacationing and got the storytelling and everything. And I know we've been working the whole keeper culls. So I thought we'd spin it just a little bit right off the bat and have a little fun. And I got a hunting buddy keeper cull.
All right. So I want to hear this.
Okay. All right. So we're going to tell a story, ask your questions. It's going to be hilarious, but at the end of it, you got to keep this in mind. We're deciding on whether or not we're going to keep or cull our new hunting buddy. This is, and just to preface it, this is a first hog hunt. My wife and I were out hog hunting, and we've been hog hunting forever. And we had Dylan come out, and this was his first experience other than stories.
Well, you're not doing it 100% justice, because you got to understand here, when I think of a hog hunt, right, or even hunting in general, I grew up in the city, so I'm a little bit of a city guy, and that's great. I would expect, hey man, would you like to go hunting? Not, hey, you want to go for a quick walk? Those are two vastly different things, man. I mean, I'm sitting there like with a beer in my hand. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Let's go on a walk. Sure, it's a wonderful afternoon. Yeah, no, not so much. That was a different thing. So I just want to make sure everyone understands the baseline here from my expectations. I didn't know we were on a hunt. I thought we were on a stroll through the woods with some dogs. So
when
yeah, maybe in hindsight,
let's go walking.
Say no. Or say yes. They're fun.
Or say yes.
It was definitely, it resulted in a memorable time. And again, it was good. I would like to say things got a lot better from there on. But yeah, I would say definitely up until this point, all we had was, hey man, there's a lot of feral hogs around here, and they'll get you. They'll get you. That was probably the number one. If there was like a hashtag or a catch line, it would probably be, they'll get you.
Well, you got to mess with them a little bit, right?
You got to build that hype.
They'll get you. They'll climb trees. They're gonna come after you.
Yeah. So we had asked. I was like, "What do you even do?" Like, so when you're out, like, I know you hunt hogs. It's great. What do you do? And he's like, "Oh man, you just find a tree that'll support you. Don't climb up in it. Just like pull yourself up, like a pull up almost." And I'm like, "Oh, great." So like once, and then they go away. Oh no, they're smart. They're gonna circle back around and get you a few times. So you got to do it like 10, 12 times. And I'm like, "Hey man, I don't know if I have that in me. I got maybe twice. Look at, what do you do on the ground?" He's like, "Oh, just ninja over him." I'm like, "I am not a ninja. This is
hooves on the wood."
Yeah. That was the night before.
You guys, tell us what happened. Take us back to the beginning.
So yeah, literally, I think the first time I heard about all the hog hunting stuff with detail was probably the night before. Just sitting there, shooting the breeze, having some beers. And that's what we were told, all this different stuff about the hogs. And it was like, okay. The next day we're out doing some stuff around the ranch. And sure enough, he says, hey, by the way, you want to go for a quick walk? We're like, yeah, no problem. So this is also me. It's another good buddy of mine too, that we've known for a long time. And I'm in just normal, I got boots and jeans on or something like that. And my other buddy, he's got shorts and flip-flops on. And again, this is the level that we were expecting this. And he says, hey, he looks to Ashley, you want to bring some dogs? And she says, yeah. So they load up a terrier and was it Ruckus?
It was Rowdy.
Rowdy. And
the Pitbull Mountain Walk Cross.
Yeah. So, I mean, they put the transponders on them, but I'm like, yeah, they're running around the woods. I thought that was normal. So we just get in the truck. We drive a little ways and just get out, and it's a nice little trail. I mean, it's a 4x4 trail, basically, like a side-by-side trail. We're walking, and everything was nice. And you got to remember, at this point, what we don't know is we are on a hunt. I thought we're on a stroll, and we're on a hunt. And 100% suddenly, out of nowhere, there's just this snapping and commotion, like maybe 50 meters into the woods on our left. And it was almost like Chad got this look in his eye, like, contact left. Like he looks at and immediately looks at Ashley and goes, it's on. And the dogs start barking. He runs off. And me and my buddy are sitting there going, what's on? What are you talking about? We're quite confused, just sitting on this trail. And he's gone. And after about 30 seconds, we see the first one. It's just a silhouette just go flying by across the trail. What was that? And then another one. And then you realize these are all feral hogs. And we are surrounded right now by these hogs fleeing from that area. And there's just, there's the chomping going on. There's just insanity going on. And we look at each other. Did you run
for a tree?
No, we froze. We're like, oh my God.
Well, the way what had happened is the dogs were out and got into them. And before the dogs had even really opened up, we heard the sounder start to make noise. And, so Ashley and I take off, but then the dogs push them around us and then right around my two buddies. So they're standing there in the road with their beer, just like, okay, cool. They're going to go catch a pig. And then now they're zipping in front of them, behind them. Yeah. So they weren't near a tree. This is that's the status that I then. So,
and the best part too, hands down, I forgot to mention this too. So the day before too, we're out and he's got one in a pen already. And so the day before we had this experience and he's like, hey, do you want to get in the pen? And he's giving us like the safety brief. And I'm like, no, I kind of don't. And then suddenly now flashback to now, there's no pen. You're in the pen, whether you want it or not. You go, man. Yeah, no, it was fun. So, so basically we have this realization, me and my buddy are looking at each other like, wow, this is it. This is happening right now. And right when we're looking at each other, we hear it. And this changed the entire game for us. And so Chad, we've known him for a long time. Hunter does all this stuff. He's a great guy, but he's, again, cream of the crop when it comes to some of this stuff. So it's all good. And we hear Chad suddenly from in the woods yell, help, help, help. And he's screaming help. And we're like, oh, this is really, oh my God, this man needs help. Like he needs help. This is how it ends. This is how it ends for us. Like, this is it. I don't know what happened. So like literally we put our beers down. We're like, oh my God. My one buddy pulled out the smallest pocket knife known to man. We look at each other. We're like, all right, I guess we're going to go. We're going to go.
We're coming, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. We go dashing in like, come on, charge, follow me. We're like, all right, I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do it. And but that was a fun little moment where we were just like, if he needs help, then we're doomed. We're doomed. This is it. But anyway, we get in there, right? We get in and it's only, like I said, it's only, I don't know, like less than 50 yards into the woods. It's right there in the woods. We get up on them and Ashley's got one of the dogs, I believe, by the collar.
Mm-hmm. She had either Rowdy or the terrier, one of them. I forget who exactly, but one of the dogs, right?
And then the other one's barking around, and Chad's got this hog by the hind legs. And this is the first time we've seen that. And we run up, we're like, what do you need? What do you need? And he's like, help me, get over here. We go, okay. Doesn't say a word, just hands a leg to my one buddy and a leg to me. And we're like, what? And he goes, I'll be right back. and they both leave.
So you're just hanging on to a wheelbarrow hog.
Never, not even by yourself too. So now you got like the two of us holding on to a hind leg each, and we're like, wait, come back. What? It just takes
Describe the hog, Dylan. Was this a monster porker? What are we talking here?
That's the thing, right? So this is the first time, and it's, we got the adrenaline going a little bit, and we went from our nice little, leisurely walk to this, and it was like, man, this thing, giant tusks. Oh my God, it's gonna get you. Like, this is all I keep remembering, the hashtag, it's gonna get you. And I'm like, damn. And so we have this thing, and Chad goes off, and you can hear the commotion, but then you can clearly tell they go far. Like you can hear the dogs; they're far.
We just wanted to get on the next one, like, come hold this one. Let's catch another.
Get ahead.
Quick.
You got to catch,
and you got to do it quick. That's why I was like, get in here, get the pig. We got to get the next one.
Yeah. Which again, the help cry. We thought, help was going to be clearly like bad.
He's down, getting shredded. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm a medical guy, so I hear help, and I'm like, I hear like medic, and I'm like, all right, I got you. I'm coming. And so instead, we end up in this situation. The world's smallest.
I got a foldable Dorito chip. I think is what we were calling it. One of those little mouser knives,
I don't even think if you got a running start, it would have penetrated the house.
Lance charge, yeah.
It was fantastic. And so anyway, there we are sitting in the woods with no one else. It's just me and my buddy suddenly. And again, you got to remember, he's in like flip-flops and shorts. So he's not, suited for this environment, although he'll tell you, I'm a country boy and I'll go for any hunt on flip-flops. I don't care. And
he's an Arkansas fella.
This
particular guy.
Which was even better because he had, I think, Arkansas shorts on. So there was definitely, there was the Razorback on there. Yeah. Anyway. So I think it takes all of, I don't know, I'm going to be aggressive in my estimation here. 90 seconds, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes for this hog to clearly outsmart us. Like, it starts turning one way and we're like, all right, and it's like cue the Benny Hill theme song music. Like, we're going one way and it's just running us in like a kind of a circle. We're like, I don't know what to do. We're just being so gentle with this thing because really know, but you're holding on, you got a death grip, and it takes about, like I said, about 2 minutes before it found a tree. And it got us against this tree, and it's like running in a circle. We can't turn anymore because my buddy's like pinned against the tree, and then I'm getting pinned against him, and it's starting to like move its head around and
trying to get you. Yeah.
And I'm like, it's gonna get me.
so they, I guess that didn't do him a service because the hog hunters know if you just leg it and hold still, the pigs don't bend very well. They're kind of rigid, you know. So as long as you hold the legs and hold still, it can't get you. But they're like one leg each, which is kind of a disservice as well.
Which is hilarious.
So they're kind of hunched over a little bit, with the one leg each. So when come to find out, when it would turn its head, they assumed it can turn more. So as it would turn the head, they'd like,
run away.
They go the other way, So now this hog, is like spinning them in circles. They're as safe can be as long as they hold onto the legs, but they think this thing's coming after them. So they're turning themselves, drilling themselves down into the ground, trying to avoid the pig.
And it was really, I got to give a lot of credit to, you could tell there's some intelligence there because it was like, I'll run you this way. Oh, I'm coming the other way. It knew I need to get these guys. And the whole time too, we got our head on a swivel because we saw there were a lot of hogs that were around there.
Is it screaming? Is it squealing? Or is it?
Oh, yeah. The whole time it is unhappy. It is unhappy. And we're like, it's calling its buddies. Is like, so it was not a thing. And it took a little bit. We got pinned on this tree, and luckily that's when we, kind of held the line. There was nowhere to go. So there's nowhere to go. So we held the line. You couldn't get us, but I mean, we were straight stuck. And Chad comes up, and this was the great part. You see him you see the bush, and you see him coming in. And I'm like, thank you, Lord, thank you, everything. Like, okay, here he comes, and he comes in. He's all upset, and I'm like, are you okay? Because I haven't got any word on like the help thing either. I'm like, are you all right? Is everything okay? And he looks up. He's like, what? Oh yeah. We didn't get another one. And he's kind of like disappointed. And we're like, cool. What are we gonna do with this? And he's like, oh yeah. Without a word, he just grabs both legs from us and immediately flips it over, down on his neck. Boom, hog ties it in rodeo speed, just so fast. And we were both sitting there like, oh yeah, totally. I was going to do that. This is your hog. Like, I would have done it, but courtesy. I wanted to give you, I was deferring to you because that's etiquette. We had never, and again, granted, we did not know how to do that or anything, and to us, it looked like he just this world champion hog tire. And here's the best part out of everything, for me at least, is afterwards. So we got this hog, and we're like, all right, cool, we'll take it back, and we're like, hey, this is your first hog. We got to get a picture with everything. We're like, sure. So we get this picture, and honestly, this is the smallest hog known to man. This is the tiniest little hog, man. So respect. I mean, this thing's maybe 100 pounds if it's wet, if soaking wet. It is not big.
It's a javelina, basically.
pretty much. I'd say it was like 70 pounds, like 80 pounds.
Hey, Dylan, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. Don't feel bad. The first hog I ever went in on during the day with curs and bulldogs, they probably weighed 50 pounds, and I didn't grab it, man. They grabbed it for me. I was like, the guy I was hunting with, Danny, he was like, hey, I was hoping you would grab that pig. I was like, are you on drugs? I'm not grabbing that thing. That's not why I came, man.
That's the best part too, because you just hear negative things. Like again, no idea it was a hunt. This is a walk, and all you know is hashtag they're gonna get you, and they'll get you. And you're just like, all right, like cool. These things are going to get me. I noted, don't go near them. I think
that's a natural progression of any pig hunter, though, is that like everyone is really afraid of them. And one thing I've really learned is that all the pig hunters are like, oh, their reputation's so overblown. I asked that to every single hog hunter. I'm like, are you afraid of hogs? They're like, no. And after like 5 days of hunting, I wasn't either anymore. I was like, oh yeah, their reputation is super overblown. Like if you just stay away from their teeth, they're not going to do anything. And we got run up a tree by one. And yeah, you just climb the tree. He grunted a little few seconds and then ran off. So yeah, I'm with you though, man. At first I was like, these are grizzly bears, man. Like, so I was like, I'm going to keep away from these things. But yeah, I by the end of it, I was like, they're nothing. So.
And that's kind of how he's got, which is hilarious. Cause in the beginning, this pig was like, they're white whale, like we blasted
fight to the death,
like for 3 days.
Yeah. And then since then he's come on a bunch more hunts, and I think we've got at least 2 pigs that were like 250, 300 class, wow. Nice pigs that he's got the leg and tie, and deal with that whole shebang. So now that he's like, gone full circle, he still has this picture, of like the 70-pound sow.
It's just like fight on. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. If you ever went again, Dylan, but it sounds like you did. I take it you had a good time overall.
Yeah. It was, it was definitely, an experience. We laughed about it. Everything was good. And then, we got the safety brief after that. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. So this is how you flip a hog and this is how you do that. And so once we were armed with a little bit more of that information, right, it was like, okay, I get that. Like because we had, the zero other than the walk-in, they'll get you. But honestly, once we had that, the next one that we did, I don't think I shot on that one. I think I still stayed away. I wrangled some of the dogs, but I knew, I was like, all right, I got it. And I think it was probably maybe like the 3rd hunt we did. I remember we ran in, it was further. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how lucky we got it going, less than like 50 yards in. This next one was a hike. It was in there. And so we're running in. I remember that was the first one where the dogs were there and everything. And I think I reached in, I got them or something. I shot in, I got the legs. And I was like, all right, and just waiting. The other hogs cleared out. And Chad gave me this look like, I'm so proud of you.
He's like, my boy's growing up.
And it was, I think I'm fairly certain it was the biggest sow I've ever caught, ever. And like my life as a hog hunter. And it was it dwarfed a lot of pig hogs boar hogs I've been proud of,
Dang.
But, shot in, snatched it, stood up. And then that's the hard part. You got him now, it's downhill from the legging.
Yeah. The part that was always sketchy to me still is that once you flip it, that transition where you got that brief second where you're like, all right, I have to let go
of the legs.
Then I have to get my knee right here and then also pull up. And if you mess this up, you're going to have a bad time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's talking about, how you get the back legs and you flip it And then, and that's always the part they're like, now what do I do? Because I was kind of helping them out, training, to get ready for more big hunts. Yeah. And I'm like, well, once he's on his shoulder, he's only going to be there for a second or two before he stands right back up. You get him rolling onto his back. So at that point, you let go of the back legs, put your knee behind the ear as fast as you can, and grab the bottom front leg with two hands like a baseball bat and pull back. And once you are there, my 100-pound wife can hold him down, but you got to get there, you got to let go and grab the other one, so that's
do you think the first person to figure out this technique figured it out on domestic pigs and then transitioned that into wild ones? Or do you think he just figured it out on the fly with small wild ones that had been caught by dogs?
Couldn't tell you.
Thousands of years ago.
Clue.
That's an interesting idea.
I know it definitely would be safer. Yeah.
Who thought of all this? Who's like, oh yeah, you flip them. Oh, first of all, it's like Ugg the caveman with his dogs being like, oh yeah, they're stiff as a spaghetti noodle. They can't get you when you get behind. I learned because I saw like Rago get shredded, and you just grab him by the back legs, bro. I don't know. I always think about that. Who figured all this out? This institutional knowledge that we all take for granted. Somebody was the first one to grab a pig by the back legs and then flip him and be like, grab him like a baseball bat. Back then it'd be like, grab him like your wife club, right here on the double head.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I think about that. So what are we keeping or culling this? Are we talking about Dylan right now?
Yeah. So, his first hog hunt, what do you say? The hog did get the upper hand. But ultimately
it didn't matter what happened. I was gonna say call this bitch until I saw the bourbon shirt. I'm just kidding.
So what's your vote?
I say there's no question. Keep, son. Is that right?
And that was going to be the determining factor. Style comes secondary to the end result. And the hog was there when I got back.
Look, I'll be the first one to tell you I hate gingers, but I'm just...
So you're drinking a ginger beer.
My brother's a ginger. But no, I say keep, and here's why. One, you were handed a tough situation. You held on like a pit bull. Good job. Two, you came back for more. And three, you made Papa proud when you darted it and caught that massive sow. You're a keeper. There's no question. You're a keeper.
Yeah.
Natural game.
Well, I appreciate it. That's really good. I can tell you, we did not feel like that. The end of that first day, it was good, but I guess it's get up, keep back on. I don't know. Yeah. Don't flip a hog, just flip it again. I don't know. There's some kind of wisdom in there.
I definitely agree too. I'm going to say keep. The pig was there when he got just like a good bulldog. Was it? I don't care how he does it, but was the pig there when you got there? It was there. So keep. I vote keep too.
Keep. Absolutely keep. I'm going to ask you, Dylan, have you been hunting have you gone with Chad and hunted other ways with dogs now?
Yeah, definitely. We've done a few different things. It's been good.
We've done your favorite.
You know what? To be honest, the sight hounds are pretty cool. I'm a big fan.
Hell yeah.
I'll tell you, there's a lot more running than I thought would happen. And I'm like, oh, I didn't sign up for this. But at the same time, you get that adrenaline of like, well, I don't want to miss it. I want to see this happen. This is amazing. So yeah, definitely. I think the sight hounds were a big deal.
You two need to come on down to my place.
Yeah,
I'll show you. Chad's got some pretty nice dogs and some good places down there, but your boy here
wide open.
Really?
You can watch a dog run away for a week.
See, that's great. There's a lot less running.
What the dog cheetahs, they need that. So that made my heart swell. Whew, I didn't know if you were going to keep to wrestle dirty hogs, but now I know you're a fan of pure speed.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. Yeah. Those are always fun. And definitely seeing when you combine them there too, where you have the sight hounds and then you also get, a bird of some kind going. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. It's just awesome watching that teamwork.
Isn't it crazy how effective hunting can be with no firearms, just animals?
Yeah. It's almost like primordial.
Very, very. Chad, when were falcons first used in hunting by humans?
Shortly after sight hounds. It's forever. Those are the first two.
Really?
Yeah, I mean they
Is that
got
old?
you know the what is it in the Gaze Hound book? It says they got hieroglyphics of some of the oldest art. You know, is you know that it's like sighthound and rabbit. You know, or impala. You know, like with the dog is obviously a
Dang.
sighthound, and then you know on this wall next to it is you know a raptor of sorts. You know, so it's in there. It's way back. You know, it goes way back. I would definitely, you know, the nod goes to sighthounds. You know, is like probably the first type of.
Oh
you know,
yeah. Salukis are like that. Well, the land race that became Salukis is like the oldest form of purebred dogs in the world. I got an Iranian Saluki that's like his genetics go to that part of Central Iran for thousands of years. And it's so cool to think when you're hunting with them, you're like, this is the exact same thing we could have been doing 10,000 years ago. You know,
part of history. Yeah.
It's so crazy. And the same exact thing. There's nothing different except the binoculars I have, you know? So anyway, it's really cool.
They transitioned into it. Like you know, my thing. I love flying with, you know, the sighthounds and the raptors, you know, falcons or whatever. But that's one of the other really old works in that book is in the Gaze Hound book where they have Salukis pursuing, I think it's actually like some kind of gazelle, or I'm not going to say it's not an impala, but some kind of desert, you know.
Yep, desert gazelle.
What's the right word I'm looking for here,
well,
Seth?
Gazelles, yeah. So there's like tons of different desert gazelles. Like it's probably a Dorcas gazelle. That's like the most common Middle Eastern.
There we go. I knew you were going to do that. Well, actually, it's a zigafricamorph. You know, like
Fricamorph.
You know, like all right, that. Yeah, this is exactly what I was going to say, you know. But they're pursuing it. They're pushing it with Salukis, and they're turning loose of a falcon on horseback, you know. And that was like, and then what they would do is, you know, the Salukis would, you know, run it and line it out, and this falcon would haze it. Now, it's not like it's going to knock it over.
Yeah.
It's going to slap it in the head going 100 miles an hour, you know. And
annoy him. Yeah.
Yeah, and annoy him or cause a turn, you know, to allow the other dogs, which they're bred to do on their own, but this is the way this guy hunted alone, you know. So if you can get the turn sooner, allow them to catch up, and they just overtake, you know, the gazelle and catch it. So the falcon didn't actually grab and bring it down, but again, just hazing and getting early turns so that the dogs could do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And that's ancient, you know, that's way before guns, you know. So
effective. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
There you go. Yeah, so there you go. And he's done the sighthound things. That's his favorite too. I knew you'd love that, you know. But like, we've taken him on. He's gone bear hunting a few times. None successful. We've gotten outran each time on those days. But I think that's about some terrier shenanigans with raccoons and the like, you know. But yeah, so he's had a little taste of a lot for my pocket city boy.
You're gonna level up, Dylan. Chad's gonna hand you a bear by the back legs.
Yeah, that'll be a different. And yeah, then that's the worst part, because then I'll have that confidence of like, well, I remember my first time, I wasn't in any danger, so this is probably legit. And then I'll grab the bear, and it's like, no, you're gonna have a bad time.
We don't grab the bears. I'm gonna stop it now just to make sure. But you said no, they will get you, man.
They're actually flexible.
Jiu-jitsu roll,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Like they get dogs that way. The dog will come up and nip them in the butt, and they will do like a little tumble and grab them. You know, while running, they'll run in a direction, the dog will nip them, and they'll roll, and they can reach out and grab them under certain circumstances. So if they could do that before the dog could get away, we don't have a chance. You know.
My first time seeing a bear treed, I just remember how crazy it was. I was in Canada, believe it or not, and yeah, you just look up and it's a bear. Like you just like it's one thing to just see a bear grazing on the side of the road or like you're camping or whatever, but to like just see one sitting there like right above you looking at you is kind of cool. Well, it's very cool. You know, it's such a neat experience, and you're just like, damn. Like, and it always surprises me that they'll tree. Like, dogs are so small and weak. Well, I mean, they're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna get away from this annoying mess and just climb this tree. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy that they even do. Like the two dogs that treed, one of the bears were like, one was like a 25-pound pup, and the other was like a 40-pound puffball. These two and they just were like, the bear was like, yeah, I'm gonna climb or I'm gonna die. You know what I mean? Like it just thought, it was so scared of those dogs, and it made me laugh. It's just
that's like, exactly what I asked with Chad. You know, when we were doing the bear, I said, so what well, the dog's like, get the bear. And he's like, oh, no. The bear can end all these dogs if he wants. And I'm like, well, then wait a minute. So why is it treed? And he's like, I don't know. Just they're annoying. And I'm like, oh, so it just stays up there? He's like, nah, it'll get bored and come down. I'm like, oh, okay.
Cannonball jumps right into the thickest spot of them, man. And it'll get up and then run,
Yeah. It is, yeah. That bear hunting is super fun. I'm going to be doing some of that this fall too. So really looking forward to that. This was definitely an episode of firsts. I got a keeper call for you,
okay.
Chad. I got a keeper call for you. So I was looking through the archives of some of our older messages, and this one actually was just talking tangentially, but I'm going to switch it up for keeper call. Okay. So you have, this dog is just average. Okay. He's just a normal hunting dog, nothing special, nothing bad, just whatever. But the colors are just so ugly. Like,
what kind of guy? You have to paint me this picture.
Well, and that's subjective, right? So what's the ugliest dog you could think of? That's the question, right? Because this guy, right? So this guy had a dog, and it was hideous to him. Right. And he's like, I really just don't know if I should keep this dog or not. What would you guys do? Well, he was trying to sell it to us, like through Messenger. Oh, really? Yeah. He's like, do you guys want this dog? And we're like, what? And this is like from like 2019. Okay. This is a long time ago.
But I love it. He's ugly as heck. Really.
Yeah. He's like, but he messaged us out of the blue. It was just like, I got this ugly dog. Do you guys want it? And yeah, I don't even know what kind of dog it was. Like, it was just some kind of like, I guess a pig dog. Cause it didn't look like any kind of hound I've ever seen. But do you keep the ugly dog, Chad, or do you call it average?
If he's average, I don't know. It depends where I am in the kennels, I guess. Like if I got a bunch of showstoppers that look good, he's probably gonna have to get culled. But
that's a good point. It
but
depends on where you are in dogs.
But but if I'm hurting, I might be able to make him my best ugly dog, man. Like maybe he's got something to prove. Maybe he'll work harder. Like
there's a dog in Pronto and Calypso's pedigree. She is named Ugly. That was her name. And Dean Bohan's like, that's the ugliest gyp that ever lived. But she could go out and mow down a rabbit. So we kept her.
Bucktooth's fruit batter. What?
Overbite, just ugly. And
you have an overbite and an underbite at the same time.
Yeah, so only a sighthound could make that creepy looking. But anyway, yeah. And he said she was great. So I feel bad for Calypso because she's so pretty, but I'm sure some of her sisters probably inherited that ugly gene. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Nice. Now, for me, if I got dogs, if I'm dog proud, I got a bunch of them, then he's gonna have to be a call. If I'm dog poor, I'll keep it, and put enough time into it, and maybe that ugly rascal will be a showstopper, so there you go.
That sounds good to me. But I'm gonna say yes, exactly the same. If I need dogs, I keep. If I have exactly what you said, if I have bad dogs, I call Houndsman XP and see if they want to buy it.
There you go.
All right, do you got one, Chad?
Yeah. Let me see. I got one. All right. So this is one actually that's, affecting my circle here a little bit, where we got an old seasoned dog. He's a really nice, champion of the yard type thing, paid his dues, not quite too old yet, still knocking it out. And through having to have a long life of dealing with puppies and training puppies and being tolerant of them, and for whatever reason, he just learned to be super tolerant of them and let the puppies get away with, biting him in the face and hanging off his ears and everything because he knew what right is. But every dog has a point when they're just done, and this dog has gotten to the point where he misses the correct amount of correction, where he'll go from allowing obnoxious puppy behavior to the point he's going crazy. This dog's literally hanging off his ear. And then when he reaches a breaking point, he does damage. He corrects harder than he should. And that can really affect a guy, Now, if they're down on the ground, it's not going to affect you as much. But if they're in the dog box, that can really cause problems, So there you go. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to explain here. This is a seasoned dog, paid his dues, good dog, really good dog, but will let And this causes problems because it's better if a dog corrects them right off the bat, in my opinion.
Teaches the
I don't like
quick.
a dog that lets a puppy get away with murder, because then that puppy does it with other dogs that'll get them tuned up really quick. So this is a problem from both sides. That this dog will let the puppy get away with too much, which trains him to do that. And then when he's had enough, he misses the mark and overcorrects and doesn't. We're not talking about killing it by any measure, but does
Putting
too much,
gashes.
causes damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting the
So
Zorro on.
there you go. What do you think? Keep or call?
All right. So is this dog a kennel dog or is this dog a house dog?
House dog.
I was going to say, because it wouldn't be too hard to keep him separated from pups if he's a kennel dog.
That's
But
right.
if this is a house dog, this dog is going to, you want it. You've obviously built a bond with this dog. Damn, that's a tough one, man. If I was in that situation, which I know somebody who is in that situation, they keep, and I think I would too, because that dog paid its dues. You know what I mean? Like it was here first. If he's rough with pups, then just keep pups out of his face and figure it out. Somehow supervise when the pups are around him or man, I say keep. If you got a good dog, you got a good dog, man. And the way you describe that dog, it's a great dog. And so it's a champ. He was here first. You know, I'm gonna have to it sucks. I'm kind of pissed about it. I got dogs here. I got one that's kind of a little punk with pups. He's a bully. He's very much low on the totem pole. And he's a brat. And when he thinks he's stronger than someone, he's kind of relentless in bullying them until that dog gets bigger and stronger than him. And then he's like a snide punk about it. You know what I mean? He's kind of a little ass about it. And so that's one of my Salukis. He's kind of just small, and he's a great dog, a great rabbit dog, but he's just a little punk around the house. And for with the other dogs, he's wonderful people, and he's fine with other dogs. He's just a snot. But anyway, so he can be hard on puppies because he's like, oh, I'm bigger and stronger than you. I'm gonna bully you, like play rough with you. And anyway, that's the only problem I have right now with that. But I would keep, man, and just deal with it, figure it out somehow. Have to. What would you do in this situation, Chad? You got a lot more animal behavior than me.
That's you're almost exactly spot on the money with me. I eliminate interactions between the dog, the adult dog, and that puppy, and put that puppy with as many other dogs that will correct him.
Yes.
The second he starts to get out of line, and just swap them out. Add another one, next day add another one, next day add another one, and just keep that older male away until that pup kind of learns manners and boundaries and, what's socially acceptable, for hunting dogs. And then once they pass that mark, generally they get that figured out by 6 months, and then, put them back together again and see where it goes from there,
This is another one that I really wanted to bring up. I thought about it. Again, this is a modified keeper call from a question that actually came to Houndsman XP back in 2020. But okay, everyone, you've all heard this one. Oh, Scooteroo's a great dog, except his annoying bark. He's got the most annoying, howly, squeaky bark. Oh, I just hate it. Okay, I'm going to do this in reverse. Chad, you got a below average dog. He's not trash. He's not mean. He has no personality faults. He's just mediocre at hunting. He doesn't really want to start. He's a Me Too dog, but he has the most beautiful bay, the most beautiful tree. When he's got paws on the wood, it is just pure art. He could be a cover shot on every magazine that ever lived with that beautiful sound. He would be the hound sound. Keeper call.
I'm gonna say cull. I'm gonna neuter them and find them a good place where they need some stay on it tree dogs. I've run into that before where some folks have cold trailing good cold trailing dogs that can track really well, and they'll hit the tree and then they'll bark for a while and then they want to go back to trailing, so they'll circle out and leave the tree, even not entirely. They aren't coming back to the handler or the trainer or anything, but they'll circle out a few hundred yards and hit the track again and bring it back in. And, those dogs are, to them, tip top. And they could benefit from a dog that was just going to keep its butt underneath that tree, no matter what the other dogs are doing, and I feel that dog could still lend a a definitive hand in a home like that. I got some that'll do the whole thing, you know. So that's really not going to fit. It's really not going to fit here. Yeah. He's going to get it done. So yeah, I'd probably neuter him and find him a place where they need a stick to it, never leave it tree dog, you know.
You were talking about that dog that trails away. That's kind of what they were talking about with Heath's episode, trailing off the charts, where those dogs are like, and there was a question in the Houndsman XP group that was like, have you ever seen that where dogs are so obsessed with trailing that they don't tree very good? They like keep leaving to go off and keep trailing.
Yep. And they want to run it. Yeah, they want to run it. You know, and especially if it's way up at the top of a ponderosa where they can't see it, that's when it gets really hard. But I've even known of some to be in the slower trees where they could see it and they still just like, okay, we got this one. Let's go push another one, you know? And you know, that's not ideal. And it's easy for folks to say that, all right, let's get rid of that dog sometimes, but grinding out a cold track, you know, and I find, you know, sometimes when I have somebody point those dogs out to me, that's generally what that is. That's just your sure enough cold trailing dog that's just going to grind out those old sandy, rocky tracks. And then, you know, just because they like that part of it so much. Yeah. And then once they get to the tree, they're like, I want to get back to pushing it, you know? So I find that happens you know, sometimes, you know, and then that to me, that's the hard part. Personally, I can find a dog that'll, you know, sound like a metronome at the bottom of a tree, you know, and just bark a tap, 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 and not leave it. Like I find that mark easier to hit than the cold nose, I'm never going to quit this track kind of dog. So
I think as I've aged in this lifestyle, and this comes from great mentors as well, kind of shaping my thinking as well as firsthand accounts, but I'm not really interested in finding quote unquote the perfect dog. Cause like, I don't think those exist. I like to build a team, man. I like the perfect team. And so when you were talking about how like, I'd send him to a home, excuse me, they'd send him to a home where he would benefit that maybe if a pack was too obsessed with trailing. And that's what I was thinking, is like, wow, it's amazing how in a pack, everybody's not just physical traits, but personalities play a role in success, you know? And I love putting together those teams, basically. And in a sighthound pack, it's the same as a scenthound pack. You got personalities and physical abilities and athletic traits that all balance with each other to make this perfect team, you know?
And you know, to hammer down on that, sometimes that one dog, that one good tree dog, sometimes it's not, okay, so he could stay there when the others leave. No, sometimes that one, he has so much intensity at the bottom of the tree, he'll keep the others there. You know,
like his enthusiasm's contagious.
You know, that can happen if they're just chewing the tree down, jumping, falling out of it, climbing up on it. As long as he's respectful and it doesn't, you know, isn't tree aggressive, which I absolutely cannot stand. That'll get called faster than anything. You know, dog box fighting and tree fighting, I can't.
No, I don't do aggression of any kind.
Yeah, But if that dog's doing backflips at the bottom, sometimes it'll keep those, you know, other dogs there, you know? So he can make your great dogs perfect almost, you know? So back to what you're saying, sometimes it's hard to find the perfect dog, but you know, sometimes a team can make it perfect. So yeah. So
just like with people.
Yep.
All right. This is going to be an easy, quick one. What's the name of your hardest tree and dog of all time?
Gosh, it's gonna sound weird, but it's like hardest tree. I like the long end stuff. Okay, if it's any kind of endurance, like okay, he's gonna have to hit that tree and stay there for 4 hours or 5 hours or something like that. Okay, hounds, and I got one that would do that. You know, probably. Probably a dog I got named Rusty. He's a brother to Rebar.
I've seen
probably Rusty. Yeah, probably Rusty. But if it's just intensity in the first like 30 minutes, it's gonna sound weird, but it's Haggis, man. Haggis is nuts. Haggis tries to chew the dang tree down in the first 30 minutes, and he's a metronome like yap 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 yap. And he just won't. Like, when do you breathe, man? You know, like And
When do you breathe?
Yeah, the air has to come in before it can go out. It's like somebody's behind him with just like an air compressor shit back. I don't know. But honestly, if it was just like, like in the first 30 minutes, I'd say haggis, honestly. But if it's, hour or something like that, or I'd have to go to Rusty personally.
I don't remember this. I don't remember the exact time, but I know that there was an episode with Mike Colley, Chris's friend, hog hunter in Louisiana, said he had dogs have a pig at bay for like 20 hours.
They can. It's loose.
So crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy.
It's loose though. That's what's neat about it. Like it'll bark, and then maybe another bark. And they'll just move around them. I've had a buddy do that before where he bait a set of pigs and then left because he had a family emergency. And I don't want to get into that because it's really personal. But he called around and left text messages and nobody responded to him. And he had to go to the hospital. He just left, And one of our other mutual friends went out there and it was like 8 hours later or something like that. And it was 3 curs and they were all laid down. And they had it backed into, it was like underneath an overpass, but where it was like
just had him
on the other side. And they were just laying down and barked like once every 5 minutes, like he went in there and like came down, tried calling them out. They wouldn't come out. He went in there, saw the pig, ran back up to his truck. He had a dog with him, sent the bulldog down in there and caught it. But it was like, he says they were barking like once every 5 minutes, like,
holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah. And he said the reason it was that way is because I guess the Garmin collars were bouncing around a little bit, so he didn't have an exact pinpoint location. Mm-hmm. So he's walking around down there for a little while trying to find them, which allowed him to like hear the bark, but like, okay, where did that echo? Where the hell
did it come from?
Exactly. Yeah. Like he says he's down there for like 15 minutes. And he's probably only heard him bark 3 times.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So that's not quite as long as what you said there. But I can believe it.
That's so crazy. Yeah. When I was in Canada, Lloyd told me that they had a Leica named Cinder that followed a bear for 3 days. It stayed right behind the bear, followed it for 3 days. They caught him because he didn't want to get caught, and then he fell out of Garmin range and they couldn't find him. And then they found him later and he was still on the bear.
I can imagine him even taking pit stops, taking a break, sleeping for a bit, going back up again,
they don't know what happened, but they turned him out on a brown, like a cinnamon bear, and they found him 3 days later and he's still behind a cinnamon bear.
Is that right?
Yeah, they were just like, dang, we don't know how far or long he followed that thing. His collar was dead.
Regardless, even if you were like, okay, like how do I take away from this real quick and say, all right, maybe he fell off of it and it was stuck down in the canyon overnight and then crossed paths with that bear again and got back on it.
Yeah. I mean, they have no idea.
That's still awesome. You know what I'm saying? I'll take it. No matter
so real.
Dumb that story down anyhow. It's still amazing.
He's so real and soft spoken. He wasn't like, Cinder was, 200 barks a minute for 3 days straight. He's just like, he got on this bear. We couldn't catch him. We found him 3 days later. He was still on a bear. And we were just like, damn, okay, next. You know what I mean? Like moving on. I was like, damn, that's so crazy. So anyway, we got another great guest coming up here. He's been on Houndsman XP before, but I met him at the Terrier Trials, and you've known him for a million years. And he gets to bring animals to work, and not all of us get to do that. And he actually gets to use his dog at work.
At work, man. Make a living off his dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll let this segment run with Mr. Sladen, and he's going to talk. And what I loved about Tyler is that, he didn't want to make this a documentary. He wanted to just tell us how he uses the dogs briefly. But really what I loved about it was a ton of funny stories and crazy stories. And he sent us some pictures, everybody. So after you hear some of those stories, you're going to be like, man, I want to see that. You will. They're going to be posted. So you'll get to see all them. That's pretty cool stuff. So let's just run right into it, brother. Let's do it.
All right.
Chad. Chris said I have a radio voice. Do you think that's true?
Golden radio voice, I'd say.
Lies. I think I sound the exact same. Nasally baritone, personally.
Nasally baritone, huh?
Yes. So, speaking of smooth bass instead of nasally baritone, we got ourselves a dandy guest, a return guest for Houndsman XP. He's been on Tailgate Talks. He's been on Patreon content. He's been on main episodes. and he's Chad's good friend. Why don't you introduce yourself, brother?
My name's Tyler Sladen. I own a nuisance wildlife business. We use hawks and terriers in the workplace. I'm also a falconer, and I own a pile of bird dogs as well as terriers, and I just picked up a Saluki.
Nice. Oh, you're coming to the dark side. You're getting yourself
corrupted another one.
A chupacabra. Tell me about your Saluki, bud.
So I've been waiting like 6 years to get one, as you do with a Saluki. And I finally was deemed cool enough by the syndicate, and they granted me one puppy, and I only had to give up when I was born. And so I'd like to eventually fly a goshawk over a Saluki on jackrabbits, but you need the dogs before the goshawks, so got to start somewhere.
Nice. Where do you catch your goshawk in the wild, or are you gonna like have a my one, I guess.
My previous one was pulled from the Sandia Mountain Range. My next one I'd like to pull from the Gila. So
what's the difference?
There is none, but it's
okay.
It's experience finding a nest out there and seeing more of New Mexico's wilderness.
I got my mind blown. I've learned so much about falconry being in this show and knowing Chad and Paul Domsky, but like I didn't realize you could catch one in the wild and have it theoretically hunting for you in 2 weeks. That's so crazy.
Yeah, no, you totally can. And I mean, there's just like with dogs, with birds, there's a million ways to raise them. So yes, you could go trap a wild one, or you could pull a wild one and hand raise it. It just really depends on what kind of work you want to put in and what outcome you want. So I prefer hand raised birds that think they're part human. I do appreciate trapping birds and letting them go. I think borrowing a bird from the wild for a year is really cool. It's just
yeah, that's what I want to do. If I ever got into falconry, I want to catch a subadult, hunt it for a while, and be like, be free. I don't want you anymore. Like, so that'd be cool. Imagine if you could do that with our dogs. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, all right, good job, Strider. Be free. Like
finding a dog free in the wild, doing what you want it to do already, and you're like, I'm gonna borrow you. I'll pay your food bill for a few years.
Yeah, and then just like, all right,
all right, bye.
So when I started working for Houndsman XP, a fan sent me a magazine article from Field and Stream in like the 50s. And there was a guy that went to Namibia and bought 2 cheetah brothers, brought them back to New Mexico. And he hunted pronghorn coyotes and hares with those things on some of the same fields that I hunt with my sighthounds today. And he talked about how Chad is getting ideas. He just moved in on the mic. He's like, oh yeah, his eyebrows furrow.
That'd be awesome.
Chad thinking.
There's a few books on it. There's a Sporting Chance, which every hunter should read, and then there's Tales of an Indian Prince. He took cheetahs and like hunted stuff with them in Africa.
That's so dope. Yeah, he said after those cheetahs died, he's like, I'm never owning them again. I'm going back to dogs. He's like, because they're cats, and he said that there's a lot of parallels between owning those cheetahs and the falconry. Like, they're just temperamental. You need to watch their weight more. Their food is a little more complicated, a lot more complicated. It's not just like putting kibble in a bowl for them and being like, good boy, and like, go get them, like, and so, anyway, it was amazing. He said that it could catch its hares in under 30 seconds, 95% of the time, one-on-one. And he said that if it couldn't catch the hare in under 45 seconds, it would give up. So I was like, that's crazy. I mean, he'd mow them down, though. And he said his best thing to hunt was pronghorn. He said that thing was really fun to hunt pronghorn with. And I was like, that is badass. Like, I would love to do that. Chad, let's do it.
That'd be fantastic. I'd love to fire him out of a minivan, just like open the sliding door, like
your dog rig is a minivan.
Yeah. You could give it like a 4 or 5 inch lift, it'd be nice.
Dude, I always wanted an El Camino as a coyote hunting rig. I thought that'd be the best. An El Camino with a dog box in the back. There's nothing more southern New Mexico than that.
That reminds me. Remember when we were on the phone chat and the dude named Haas with his El Camino pulled up on me?
Yes.
I was trapping his pigeons.
What?
It was a very Albuquerque interaction. I was just driving down the street and this El Camino cuts me off like he was going to fight me. And I was like, oh God, here I go. And Chad's in my ear on like an AirPod. And I'm like getting ready to, do I need to pull a gun? And he like gets out and he's like, hey, you dropping pigeons? And I was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, oh, I got some racers right over there. And
I love New Mexico.
You're not trapping my pigeons. And then I don't know. I think I remember like 4 or 5 times him going, my name's Haas. just randomly.
Yeah. And
Didn't want to forget his name.
He had an El Camino with like curtains in the back window and like
hell
sugar.
Yeah. That's hella dreamy. Look, if you were okay, Tyler, you're a New Mexico boy. You understand what I'm saying. You're going out on a date. Things are going good in the bar. She's like, hey, let's go back to my place. You come back out of the bar. You go out in the parking lot. She's driving a tricked out lowrider El Camino with shades on the back window. You can't tell me that's not a good sign.
It's not a good time. It at least makes a good story. And I always say to do it makes the better story.
My buddy, one time he took a girl home and they were a little drunk. Okay. And he woke up and she was carving a upside down cross in his arm with a Bowie knife. And so, yeah, things didn't go well. They're not together, but that happened. He's got the scar on his arm still.
But he's got a campfire story for the rest of his life.
Exactly. That's like his favorite thing to tell. Because everyone sees a scar and they're like, what happened, man? He's like, I'm going to tell you. So
either like that or like Magic the Gathering cards or something. Like you have a hand of them and you like, all right, I'm going to play this story at this event.
That's a very niche metaphor. I wonder how many HXP fans are Magic the Gathering fans, which I myself am one. Okay. I love Magic. I got a rat deck. Rats are the best. Sorry, Chris. You're wrong. But anyway, we are going off. All right. So this is the beauty of All Mixed Up. This month, you guys, our theme is animals in the workplace. And everybody knows Tyler Sladen online. Tyler, you're a pretty famous guy for a lot of reasons, but you posted a video. Chad posted a video. I think one of you posted a video of it, of your terrier getting down in the workplace. And I met you at the terrier trials in Tyler, Texas. And you had I think you had the terrier that was in that video at the trials. Tell us about your dog first. Tell us what you love about terriers and tell us why you think they're great in the workplace.
So what I love most about terriers is the people, honestly, that they bring you to meet. It's just the most one-off niche dogmen you'll ever meet, and they're always down to have a good time. There's no right or wrong way to do anything. But what I love about terriers is they can do just about a little bit of everything. There's no dog event you can't bring a terrier to and have fun. And for me, that's hard to beat. And then the camaraderie when you're hunting terriers with a bunch of buddies, like that one's really hard to beat. But then in the workplace, they're small, they get down, they're able to get in places I can't. And then it's fun. Like it makes my job fun. Like I can go in an attic and I can inspect and I can find a raccoon. Yes, I can use thermal imaging. I can do all that. Or I can cut a terrier loose and they're going to tell me in 30 seconds if there's a raccoon in that attic. And it's going to save me time. My dog got work. The people never forget it.
True.
I run into the grocery store and they're like, "Oh, you had that little dog. It ran through my attic and found a raccoon, and then you catch pulled, and then you were gone that day." Like they'll never, like to them, that's probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to them in their lives. Whereas like that's a normal Tuesday for me. And
yeah, any houndsman.
yeah, and I love it. So right now I've got 2 terriers. I've got Mouse and Aja. Mouse is off getting bred in Kentucky. So I had Aja the other day, and guy called me, and a raccoon attacked his dog, and the other dog helped tree it up in the gutter. And he called me, and he's like, "I got a raccoon on my roof. I want it gone right now." I was like, "Well, I charge extra, but I'm going to come out and I'm going to use dogs, but I will get it gone right now." Most companies use traps. It might take a couple days. They might fail. I can guarantee it's going to get caught. So I went out there. I came over the back side of the roof, hoping the raccoon would either try to run through me and I'd catch pull it. No big deal. but I thought it was going to bail. So I had Aja staged on the ground, and it Supermaned off the roof. And as soon as it hit the ground, Aja tackled it like a freight train. And funny, because when I pulled up, the homeowner was like, that little Yorkie's not going to deal with this coon. This coon
that little Yorkie.
This coon just messed up his like pit mix looking thing. And here's Aja, like 16 pounds, freshly stripped. She looks tiny. And he's like, that Yorkie is not going to do anything. And I was like, all right, bet. And I didn't say nothing. I was like, I'll just let the dog talk. And she locked teeth with it and then held onto its throat until I was able to climb off the roof, run around, and then grab it by the tail. And then my buddy Chris, who was with me, he was the way Aja had it, they were balled up, and you couldn't get a catch pull around its neck because it was like a yin and yang of they had each other's necks. And so I had it by the tail, and I was able to like discreetly collar choke my dog off of it. And then I had both the dog and the coon by a tail in each hand, while Chris was able to slip the catch pole around the coon and then slam it into a trap. And then, so in the process of that, I threw her back in the truck, and in the video, you just hear her guttural banshee screaming. And that's usually why I like using mouse more for work, because Aja, once she's on, and she sounds like an exorcism is going on. Like
a belt slipping in your truck or something.
Swiping the credit card and getting their email to send them a receipt for this experience that they just witnessed. I think 4 or 5 neighbors came out. Were like, what is going on?
Yeah, seriously.
Dog's fine. Coon's in a cage. He's alive. I got to go by.
Damn. Yeah. And that was like 50% of the sounds at the terrier trials was just banshee screaming terriers.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're winding pigs from across the ground.
They sound crazy, and those dogs get wild. Terriers are okay. So I've seen Chad's terriers get down, and when I did that, it really did. If I'm going to get into any other, I thought I was going to do beagles if I ever got into a different kind of hound. No, I'm not, because that's not possible where I live. I'm going to get a set of yogs, dude, because there's so many miles of canals. You know how southern New Mexico is.
Acequias for days.
Yeah, exactly. Hunting acequias all day long, and everyone's cool with it. And it's 10 minutes right down in the valley, right here on the Rio Grande. And anyway, I loved watching Chad just kick those little monsters out, and they just get busy. You know what I mean? I love that. And they're freaking fearless. They're beasts. It's really fun.
And even like when I'm running my bird dogs, like terriers, they'll retrieve birds and they'll help flush. And they love picking up crippled quail. And then the other one is if you're running sighthounds, they're good little flushers too. I mean,
they're only this crazy guy says right here.
They give voice. That's my favorite thing about them. They stay busy getting all the bushes, and if they see one, everybody knows about it. There's nobody that's like, oh, I wonder if there's a rabbit over there. No, everybody knows, and they know which way it's going. It works.
I've seen Chad sighthounds literally just, they don't even see it. They just run towards the screaming chatterbox.
Yeah, Chad hunts in a place where you need a screaming. Yeah, Chad hunts in a place where you need a screaming chatterbox to be like, he's right here, because man, it's tough where Chad hunts. It's tough.
It's hard on horse.
Yeah, with an elevated position. Well, and that was one thing I wanted to ask. I'm going to ask you some tough questions. I like to ask hard questions, Tyler, but tell me what you think the dog brings to the table that makes it an effective way to augment your pest control job.
So they can get in places I can't. The government spend millions trying to replicate a dog's nose. I trust my dogs. If my dog's open, I know they're not lying to me. They will not lie to me. And if they did, they wouldn't live here. I can cut them loose in an attic, and if they get hung up on a corner and start screaming, I know without a shred of doubt that there's a raccoon in that soffit over there. And I can at least tell that customer, there is a raccoon there. We need to set traps. We need to trap it if the dogs can't get it. And so that saves me thousands of hours and thousands of dollars of most of my work is closing up animal damage. So if I close up animal damage and there's one raccoon left, they're going to make a lot more damage. And so the dogs give me a huge peace of mind. So that right there is priceless. And then it really solidifies the customer experience. They're going to remember the company that came with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody.
That's a great point. I never thought
So
of it
like
as
a last-
marketing.
So like a last check after you like think you got it all handled, you can run the dog through just to make sure there isn't one more critter way back under the thing that's gonna, like you said, like can't they like chew their way out of like a roof through like the plywood, through the shingles and all that?
Yeah, I've had them go straight through the deck board. I've seen where homeowners locked raccoons in, and they locked like a mother raccoon out and her baby's in, and the raccoon took the ridge vent and peeled it like a tuna can. The 100 their roof.
Wow.
Like that's a couple grand of damage right there. I've seen them come through stove vents right into the kitchen. I've seen them come through bathroom fans where handy dandy homeowner locks them in, and then the raccoon's like, I'm coming out. And the weakest point is a recessed light or a vent, and they go to the bathroom the next morning. There's a raccoon in the bathroom, like partying.
So what do you okay, so when you use the dogs, do you have to tell your client that off the bat? Have you ever had people be like, no, I don't want that?
In 9 years of doing it with dogs in customers' homes, I've never been told no once.
Dang, that's awesome. And a great ambassador for our lifestyle.
I have a huge disclaimer. I'm like, it's going to be loud. It might not go how I want it to go. The animal will be handled, or I will know there's an animal here. Like every now and then they think it's a raccoon and ends up being a bird, and it's really hard for.
What?
Yeah, you would be blown away what people confuse sometimes, and it's very hard for a terrier to catch a sparrow and not kill it.
But didn't that just happen the other day too? Like, I mean,
it literally just happened the other day. They thought there was a squirrel in their chimney. And so it was like a metal chimney, but once they got above the smoke shelf, they could fall into a void on both sides of where the metal chimney was, or the metal fireplace was fitted into the chimney. So there was no human access without cutting through metal to get to what that was. But my dog could get in there, and my dog did, catching it. It was a curved bill thrasher, and we were able to get it out, and we were able to let it go. But yeah, we thought it was a squirrel.
That's crazy.
And it would have turned into bird soup in there.
Yeah, that'd have been gross. You imagine the smell too. Those thrashers are neat little birds, and they're really good at getting into crevices like that. So anyway, yeah, here's another one. Okay, so I'm going to ask you first of all, what is the best experience you've ever had using the dogs in your work? Like, tell me a great experience where you just felt unbelievably proud, or it's just great.
There was one where they were in a garage. It was 2 raccoons in a garage, and I thought it was one. And so put the dog in there. The dog goes in there. No dog on earth is going to bay up 2 raccoons. So the first raccoon bails and out the soffit into the neighbor's yard. My one dog bails out the soffit with it and just locked it up in the neighbor's yard. And then I see the second raccoon, and I had 2 dogs with me, and I cut the second dog loose. Same thing, locked up with it. And I was able to catch 2 raccoons same day, charge $500, and they were able to go back to their 4th of July barbecue. And the raccoons were no longer in this garage. So to go in there and catch 2 raccoons, nothing got away. Even though the raccoon bailed off a 2nd-story soffit, my dog bailed with it and caught it.
That's such a terrier move, though.
And it was a very New Mexico ordeal. The guy, he said, "Hey, the terrier's shit hot, huh?" And he loved it. He's like, "That's the most shit hot terrier I ever seen in my life."
And then he rolls out in his El Camino.
Yeah, he went back drinking his Allsups cup.
That's a quick way to get. Okay. All my New Mexico people, you're going to know what I'm talking about. And Tyler, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Why is every Allsups bathroom disgusting? Even brand new Allsups bathrooms, I walk in there, it's the worst experience of my life. Are they just built to house meth heads? Like,
they're just the greasiest bathrooms on earth. Even you can smell the Fabuloso from the pump.
Fabuloso, dude. Yeah. So do you eat the chimichangas?
I do eat the chimichangas.
Yeah, me too. When I'm like, you know what sounds good today? Diarrhea. I'm gonna eat some chimichangas.
I don't care. Yeah, like I'm not above Roach Coach food. I'm not above.
Well, you better not be where you live, son. That's like a staple out there.
If I eat Roach Coach food, I can't turn my nose up at chimichanga at Allsup's.
That's true. Allsup's is just like a 7-Eleven of New Mexico, everybody, but it's just they're so hood. They're always so hood every time. Anyway, I'm grinning too much. I was gonna ask you another question. What is the worst experience you've ever had using dogs at work? And you can interpret that however you want. Worst as in bad experience, disgusting, crazy. Because I also want to ask you, what's the craziest house you've ever been in? But first, what's the worst experience you've ever had?
The worst, you can go multiple ways. I had one where my dogs let me down, but it wasn't that my dogs let me down, really. It was I let myself down. It was a fox den on a botanical garden. I'll redact which botanical garden, but I cut the dog loose in the fox den, and I put a fishing net, because I was all I had, over the den hole. And I was like, well, I got this either way. I'm either going to dig to this fox and catch this fox, or I'm catching the net. Fox jumped right over the dog's head, shot through the net like the net wasn't there, and just ran right by me and the facilities maintenance manager. And I was like, ooh. Yeah, so about my confidence.
Yeah.
So we did go back the next day and catch it, but it was very hum. And then there was another one where only time I've ever fallen through a ceiling in my life. Dog caught the raccoon, and the raccoon was running towards me, and the dog had it by the ribs and was trying to get to the neck. And mind you, it's an attic, and this was like a very not built to code garage attic, and the distance between studs was not 6 on center, wasn't 12 on center. It was like 30 on center, and it's very hard to balance on that. And raccoon's running at me, dog's got it by the ribs, and the raccoon runs up me with a dog attached.
Oh my God.
So I basketball, double-handed fast past it, away from me, because I'm not wearing a raccoon hat. That's not the hat I want to wear. And when I did that, the raccoon and the dog fell through the ceiling together.
Oh.
And so I didn't really fall through the ceiling, but either way, something went through the ceiling. And
folks,
they were really cool about it. I didn't charge them. I was willing. I helped them rehang the drywall and fix it, but it's the only time that it ever happened. And my goal is not to make a bigger mess than the animal was causing. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was very fly by the seat of my pants moment, but I was not wearing a raccoon hat, and I'd rather hang some sheets of drywall on a janky garage. It's not like that. Super nice.
Yeah, that's crazy. What is the most gnarly house you've ever been in? You walked in there and you saw the raccoon damage or whatever damage, and you were just like, holy crap.
1 second. Let me help them real quick. They got puppies in there.
No problem.
What was the last question?
What have you ever been into? What is the house you've been into that you're just like, it's a night, gross or crazy? I want it, because when I watch those crazy hoarding shows on TLC, I want to see a house that you open the door and there's 15 cat mummies, and Tyler's Chad is a mummy of roaches. What is the craziest wildlife damage to a home or whatever you've ever seen?
So wildlife damage to a home. I've been in countless hoarding situations in it, and some of those are just sad, man. But wildlife damage, a tree fell. Mind you, there's probably a 4,500 square foot home. 2 people lived in it. Very dirty people. Had to have inherited it. There's no way anyone that paid money for this house let it get this way. A tree fell through half the house on a wing that they don't use. And they just took the insurance money and didn't get it fixed or something. And raccoons and possums were just living in this house.
What?
And we went we were able to go in. This is when I had dachshunds. We were able to go in and catch, I think it was like 3 or 4 raccoons, a possum, whole litter of babies, all like in the wing of the house. Yeah. Wildlife was living in the living quarters of the house, not the attic, not the crawl space.
They're in rooms.
There was like Chinese elm trees starting to grow in the carpet. Like, yeah, no, like wildlife was reclaiming this wing of the house. And they were like, yeah, we were going to get to it. Like, when, man? There's
when
like
the trees are growing through your floor,
like
dude?
Chinese elms growing. Like, that took at least 2 years.
Oh my God. I mean, Chinese elms are an unbelievably invasive species. I didn't think they could grow in a house. Like
the leaf litter. They were growing in the leaf litter on top of the carpet that had fallen through the house. Yeah. That was in Missouri.
Oh my God. And so you had dachshunds at that time. Were the dachshunds like the yogs, or like did they perform the similar duty? I just, now that I've seen yogs in action, I just can't imagine anything being better than them. Like,
no, they're not as gritty. They're more like they'll go in and bite and mix and bay, but their noses are every bit as good. Sometimes even a little bit. I wouldn't say their noses are better. They're more like a beagle than they are a terrier at times, and they just follow that. And then they're tiny. Like I had a little female named Wing. She was 6 pounds. So I don't really expect her to fight a raccoon, but she could get some places.
Wow. Dang.
So it was the closest thing to legal ferreting I could find.
I love that, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, okay.
They didn't work as well. Rabbits are way faster out here. Rabbits don't creep through cover here like they do in Missouri.
Yeah, for sure.
So a dachshund was just about useless here. So I ended up selling my dachshunds. My best male got killed, and then I had a teckle I sold as well. They worked incredibly well in Missouri. They were just basically like loud coyote food here. So
yeah, man. I actually know a buddy who shout out to a great friend of the show, Adrian. He had a beagle get killed by a coyote, and I was really worried about that because they're so loud, and there's just so many coyotes out here.
I believe it. I posted that video a few years ago, a coyote coming in from 1,000 yards, creeping in. I have it all on video, and it jumps on the back of an English setter.
So like a 35-pound dog, 40-pound?
35-pound dog that stands 23 at the shoulder. No care. 2 humans right there.
What?
Yep. And
is this in a semi like suburban area, or is this like totally wild desert?
West Mesa of Albuquerque. You can see I-40 on the horizon.
Okay, yeah, so they're used to people because the coyote. Yeah, that's crazy. I want to see that video, son. I want to see that video, son.
Yeah, I'll send you the video. It was 4 p.m, and I was like, "Oh, look at this coyote! It's being bold." And then like it starts coming in, and then I was like, once I saw it lock in, I was like, it was my buddy Chris's dog. I was like, it's gonna bite your dog. And sure as shit, it did. The setter was just doing the setter thing, running back and forth looking for birds, and a coyote jumps on its back.
Did the setter just freak out, or what happened?
Like, what the hell, man? Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, I just imagine Dandy and a coyote throwing down.
Oh God, that wouldn't be good. I don't know if he'd come back from that.
No, Dapper. Sorry, Dapper.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, that's what you need haggis for.
There you go. Good luck with that, But I don't think they'd mess with him, though. That's the problem. The ones that can whoop them, generally, they don't. They know, they have a sense for it,
Yeah, they have like a sense for it. They like know what they can handle.
Well, that's why they're not dead.
Yeah.
They're really good at that, wild animals. Well, cool. Chad, what am I missing, bro?
I was going to say, I got a funny story about, kind of doing some of the abatement stuff way back when with terriers. I never did it for a living. It was just a buddy who was like, hey, I need this out of my, my camp house, up in the attic. And we couldn't even get in there, so we did what we called like raccoon fishing, where I had a dog, Missy, at that point, and I clipped the leash to her collar and then like half hitched it around her waist, and then I knew as long as she was barking, she didn't have the raccoon. So you just kind of ease her up into the attic, and like the raccoon was there. There wasn't much room to go, much room to get around or get tied up in anything. But as soon as you heard the like it got quiet, then you knew she had a hold of something. So you just start fishing the rope back out. And if it ever started screaming again, the dog lost it, you let it go, and the dog would reattach itself to the raccoon, and you could just fish these little raccoons out.
That is awesome.
That was some of my most fun. Tyler, didn't you with like a handful of like a litter of raccoons where mom had abandoned shop and left them in there, and you're?
Yeah, was that Buttons? I don't know if it was Buttons or Mouse. I think it was
I don't remember.
Yeah, I had tied. You told me, called you, and you're like, just tie a rope around her, send her down the chimney, and Mouse pulled out a whole litter of raccoons. I mean, I say
like magnet fishing.
Yeah, I used my live lure to fish for raccoons. No, they're like half-growns, so they're the age where they still have teeth, but they're like real rowdy. And Mouse just went down there and grabbed them, and I'd bring her up the chimney, and I'd grab them and put them in a trap. There was another one. Chad gave me a dog named Buttons years ago, probably like 5-6 years ago, and she was like the most 1,000-mile stare, like Marine veteran type yag I've ever had. Like void of personality. She was just straight business. Like if she wasn't killing, she didn't care. But you had to collar choke her off stuff. So I sent her under a house one time. Guy wanted a skunk because he was gonna demo. He was doing something. He needed the skunk out from under there. And normally I would never send a dog after a skunk on purpose, but I was like, whatever, Buttons will do it. So I sent Buttons. She just snatched it up, and I fished her out with a skunk, and got the skunk out, got the skunk away alive, and put it in a trap. And then
is it spraying everywhere while you're doing this?
So they don't spray like a hose. It's more like
like a
if you like hit like a bag, and like it'll just like spray like a few like droplets, and it'll just keep doing that. So it's not like once one sprays out, it's like whatever, I don't care. And then afterwards, I went to Walmart, ditched my clothes in the trash can at the changing room, and just left with brand new Walmart clothes.
Yeah, again, welcome to New Mexico. You just walk by and you're like, ow, that trash can stinks like skunks. Oh well.
I thought I was just smoking a pound of weed or something. I don't know.
I was gonna ask.
Like, what's the most unique animal you've caught with the terriers? I think I know the answer to this one already, but I'm curious. Yeah, like, so raccoons, possum, feral cats, blah 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 blah. But like, let's get exotic for a second. What have you nabbed with them?
It was that hoarding situation. I went in. Lady said she said there was a lemur, and I knew right away. Like my eyes, like when she called, my eyebrows damn near hit my hairline. I was like, lemur. Like I knew what it was.
Ringtail.
I got there, and I was all excited to catch it, and I looked in the house, and it looked like you couldn't see. If you stood at any of the walls, you couldn't see the other walls. It was just books and boxes. Luckily, it wasn't like a dirty hole. Like it was dusty, kind of dirty, but it wasn't like food waste and stuff.
Yeah, it was filth. Yeah,
it was just like paperwork, but like stacked to the ceiling, and like none of it was like conveniently organized or anything. But there was a damn ringtail cat, and I tried for like, I don't know, 20 minutes to catch it by myself. And mind you, it's like 9 o'clock at night. So I was like, do you mind if I use my dog? She might hurt it. I don't know. But we could be done here in like 5 minutes. I let Mouse out, and man, this thing started like monkeying off the ceiling fans, and they do this, like they have this musk to them, and they'll deposit the musk where they're sitting, and the dog won't leave it. And you can see the ringtail on the other side of the room, and the dog is just fixated on this like musk spot. And they are the smelliest little creatures. Like they smell as bad as badgers.
Wow.
Like a ninja vanish type thing. They'll squirt and take off, and then like whatever they leave behind is they can't go by it. They can't leave
that squirt is like a defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
and it's crazy magnetic to predators. They just can't get enough of it.
Yeah, it was like catnip for a dog. Like and Mouse is very trained. Mouse has been doing this 6 years. And I can call her off raccoons and pigs verbally. No e-collars, nothing. And I could not get her to leave these like musk stains. But
this is blowing my mind. I did not know this.
And Chad said it was going to happen. I didn't believe him, but I saw firsthand that it
would.
How
did you know that, Chad?
Because I caught one in my shop.
What?
Yeah, they do a squirt thing. My story is kind of funny too. Is that catch a lot of rabbits doing falconry, and I would gut them and throw them, it was freezing out, like 10 degrees. So you just kind of gut them into this trash can for the guts, and they freeze and it doesn't stink and everything like that. And then I would come back and like the little intestines with the little poop balls would like hung like garland, like Christmas garland from the stuff in my shop. I was like, what the hell is going on?
You got a
here,
serial killer out here is what you got.
Like somebody's coming into my shop and putting stuff around. So one day I just was like, all right, I've had it. I closed the garage and went in with my terriers, and they treed up on top of a shelf, like a big 3-pronged shelf. And I just grabbed one and threw her up on top, and then down came the ring-tailed cat. And that dog was stuck up there. She wasn't leaving nothing anymore, and my other one caught it behind like a stack of plywood back behind it. And we had caught it, got rid of it, we're like in the process of like taking a tailgate picture kind of thing. And they were like, wait a second, like, where's the other dog? She was still up there going to town on like a bunch of game bird netting.
What are they doing?
Yeah, there was a bunch of game bird netting that was up there where it had squirted on it. And she was digging in it, trying to find out where it had gone inside it,
They do that like teeth chatter thing that they do when a female's in heat, but they're like doing that to the musk spot, and they're just like
Fleming response.
Werewolves trying to get to it. It's wild.
Crazy. I was gonna say it's got to have some kind of mock sexual response. That's the only thing I could think that would keep a dog overpower its prey drive. It's got to have.
Well, I imagine if they saw it, they're still going to chase it. I wouldn't say that they'd leave it if they saw it take off, but they're quick. They're nimble like a fox, So as the dog comes in, they'll squirt and like slip away,
Wait,
and
how'd they slip away, Chad? How did they slip away?
Well, no one can see it. I'm pantomiming a ringtail cat slipping away.
Very stealthy,
but yeah, you barely see me.
I best describe him as like a monkey cat fox, like that.
Monkey cat lemur. That's right.
Monkey cat lemur. Yep.
They literally jumped. The one I caught was jumping around the house like Zabubumafu. Like it.
A what?
Zabubumafu.
You don't know Zabumafu, dude?
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to make sure we got that loud enough, man, because I've heard that before and it's still hilarious.
Jumping around like Zabumafu. That's gonna be the name of this episode, straight up. Well, actually, we may get sued for that. I don't know. I got to get the copyright, but yeah. Here's a quick fact: what is a ringtail's closest living relative, Chad?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I don't know.
Is it a lemur?
Nope.
It's
a raccoon.
What?
They're in the same family as raccoons, Procyonidae. Yep.
What?
Yep.
I guess
they're very.
They kind of are like a raccoon that never went to the gym but did American Ninja Warrior instead.
I love that. Yeah. That's so perfect. He was like the athletic, high achieving, like version brother of the two family. Yeah.
Just like the tall, skinny version. They only weigh like 3 or 4 pounds. They're little.
Yeah, they look like everyone. They kind of look like if a weasel, a lemur, and a raccoon had a baby together, and like a cat. Yeah. So they're in the same family as raccoons. They're in Procyonidae, and then they're in their own genus Bassaricus, and then raccoons are in Procyon. That's their genus. But yep, they're in the same family.
So we're
close relatives. So yeah, there you go. Go for it, Chad.
As Tyler was saying, what was it?
Where do the Cotamundi branch out from there? Are they?
Yeah, so they're in the same family too. They're in Procyonidae as well. But I don't know because I only know stuff about New Mexico animals. So I mean, there are some here, but yeah,
I trapped one here in Corrales.
Yeah, I treed one in the Gila once with my buddy's Labrador, but I just don't know enough about them. Apparently, you can find them a lot in the Chiricahuas, which is you can find jaguars there too. Warner Glenn has got 2 pictures on 2 separate occasions of jaguars in New Mexico. He's the only person ever who's photographed a jaguar. He's a legend in the wildlife community because when people are like jaguars in New Mexico, everyone's like, there's this hound guy in southern New Mexico who's seen them. So yeah, and we saw his pictures that he took in our wildlife class. This was way before I was in the hound world. So I actually knew who Warner Glenn was way before I ever knew anything about hunting with dogs. It's cool. Anyway, there's your weird lore for the day, everybody. It's not going to be an all mixed up episode without it. Chad, let's wrap this up, brother, for this segment. You got any last questions? And if not, I'm going to let Tyler lead it out with anything he needs to say about terriers in the workplace.
No, I was wanting to hear that ringtail story again about jumping out of a stack of magazines or whatever. We scratched my itch there. Go for it, Tyler. What you got?
I was able to scruff that thing alive. I left that customer's house with it alive.
Dang! So you actually could lay hands on it. I guess when there's a dog on it, I bet it's a lot easier to catch it.
Yeah, they bite very hard. I learned.
Oh man! Hey, here's something I wanted to ask you. So I spent a lot of time trapping when I was an undergrad. The gnarliest animal I've ever caught in a trap, leg hold or live trap, is a rock squirrel. They're so aggressive.
I tell my customers rock squirrels are gray squirrels if they have survived an apocalypse.
That's so good. So true. Man, I could see a full-grown coyote. Oh, go ahead.
You can't cut their hides with shears.
Nope. They're like semi-immune to rattlesnake venom. They are. Have you ever seen one fight a rattler before, Tyler?
They'll eat them.
Yeah. Oh, dude. So they can they flood blood to their. So all right, everyone. A rock squirrel is a kind of ground squirrel, and they're very common in New Mexico. And when they hate rattlesnakes, and it's a catch-22 because they're super destructive on your property, but they do absolutely keep rattlesnakes off your land. And so when they are engaged with a rattlesnake, they will stick their tail straight up and flush it with blood, because rattlesnakes, anything in Crotalinae rattlesnakes, they're heat sensitive pit vipers, and they see all that blood flushed in the tail, and it's a hot spot, and the snakes strike for their tail, which is just fur with like a little stick of blood in the middle of it. And that allows the squirrel to attack the snake and bite their head off. I saw one fight a rattlesnake for an hour on the middle of a dirt road one time here in southern New Mexico at my job. And it was the most badass thing ever. He got bit, didn't even faze him. They fought for an hour and he still killed the snake after he got bit like 30 minutes prior. They're badass, man.
Fangs trying to pierce its skin.
They're beasts. They have super effective kidneys too. And so when you trank them to knock them out, they need a huge dose of tranquilizer because their kidneys and liver are so effective at neutralizing toxin. They're just badass animal, man. They're cool, and they're freaking aggressive. They're ferocious, man. I made the mistake of turning one out one time for my dogs when they were young. I was like, "Oh, this will be a good cage train race for you guys." No, they caught that squirrel and they were like, this rabbit's a cactus," and they let him go. They let him go, man. Like, so. Anyway, they're crazy. That's what I learned. They're crazy. So anyway, Tyler, if there's anything you want to say to the Houndsman XP world now, brother, here's your time.
No, I honestly, I think we covered a good bit of it, without going into another hour episode.
Yeah. Well, I think that was perfect, man. I thank you so much for joining us, and this will not be the last time you talk to us. And I look forward to running with you when that pup grows up, man. It'll be a good time.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Guys, this is a no-nonsense podcast. You guys know that. And I'm going to talk to you about OnX, because I'm sitting in camp in New Mexico right now. I've never stepped foot on this ranch. And I've used OnX so many times in the last 3 days. With their high-definition maps, I can see mesas, I can see grasslands, I can see the canyons. I know where the critters ought to be living, and OnX helps me find those spots and get to those spots, and it totally augments my tracking equipment. I could buy a map card for New Mexico, but this year alone, I've hunted Louisiana, Indiana, Kentucky, New Mexico. I didn't hunt in Colorado, but I was there. Montana, I've been in Montana. So you do the math on the map card, and when you buy OnX at their elite price for around $100 a year, I get all of these maps that are right on my phone, extremely clear. Landowners are marked, state lands are marked. It's all right there. Check out OnX at onxmaps.com and get with it, man. And at checkout, Enter the promo code HXP20 and you will get 20% off of your Onyx subscription. Know where you stand with Onyx.
So a cat monkey weasel, right? Or lemur cat.
The picture is the best. I love the picture. It's just like
yeah, like the surprise look in its face,
I mean, I'd be surprised.
Or no, the Zumabafoo, or I can't ever say that. Say it.
Zaboomafoo. Yeah, but that's
Zaboomafoo.
Yeah, that's the lemur. Yeah, that's what I love. I got this lemur in my house. Like, that's so New Mexico. Like, some crazy crackhead just thinks there's a lemur in their house.
Mm-hmm.
And as an animal control expert, I would imagine if you heard that, you would be like, I'm coming no matter what, but you forget the zoologic knowledge of the average person is Zaboomafoo. Yeah, man, dang, that was great. I work in a unit that has a lot of international folks, and my friend Dylan, shout out to Dylan, you're a cool guy, man. He's been a friend of mine. He lived in Africa for 6 years. He lived in Niger, he lived in Kenya, and he lived in Cameroon. And he was there for a total of 6 years. So he wasn't a tourist. He lived there. I mean, this guy speaks like 3 African languages, okay? And he told me, he's like, I'm not joking. Here in New Mexico, I see areas that are 10 times more slum and nasty than anything I've ever seen in Africa. He's like, right? Those people are in the Niger, especially the culture there. They're the poorest country in the world, right? He's like, so all they have to do is not die. That's your job every day. Make sure you have food. Spend a ton of time with your neighbors, building like crazy interpersonal bonds, because they are going to save your life one day. It's guaranteed. And then do stuff, basically learn around the natural area in your area, right? And he's like, and work on your house because there's nothing else to do. And he's like, so they take an insane amount of pride in the items and stuff they have. And They always are working on their house, like making it as nice as they can. And he's like, yeah, man, I mean, this is a person who makes the equivalent of like $80 a year. And their house is nicer than the houses like tweaker cabins out here in the desert, Mm-hmm. And so like, I just imagine like, well, there's a tree that fell through your roof and now there's a bunch of raccoons living in your house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'll get to it one day. I'll get that tree cleaned up one day. Meanwhile, there's a colony of coons in your house.
Or flushing Zumabafoo out of your magazine stack, like.
Yeah. So, thank you, Tyler. That was awesome, man. And Chad, good guess, man. That was all Chad's idea. Everyone, Chad came in clutch this month, so everyone give Chad a round of applause. He made this episode entirely possible. So, this episode brought to you by Chad Reynolds. Now we need to do a little ad spot for you, buddy.
There you go. Are you bald?
Do you hand pigs to random people and mispronounce the boomafoo?
Have we got a whiskey for you?
Clearly, Cole. Clearly.
Yes.
Well, that's all I got, brother. You got anything else to add for this month?
Nah, I think that's wrapped up tight.
All right. Well, let's hunt them hard and treat them like heroes.
Sounds good.